Whew. Good Monday night. Got me a little nap in between. Did my CJ Evil Sims 4 episode 4 on Twitch. Probably have that uploaded after tonight's show. So if you're into The Sims, there'll be another episode uploaded. Hello, Chemistry Queen, Kib Kitty, SRB, Phantom. Busy with the kiddo. Fall down that Reddit rabbit hole, sorry. Oh, look at that bunny. Poor innocent bunny. Well, it's gonna be cool. We have the full interview with BTK's daughter on News Nation. We have an interview with Kaylee's dad on News Nation. Bunch of other videos. So if we only get to some of the vegan SKs tonight, we'll have to hop into it. Might be a multi-night kind of thing. I think that interview alone with the daughter is like 20-some minutes. It wasn't that. It was like maybe 45 minutes, SRB. It wasn't. And I wasn't even trying to have a nap. I just wanted to lay there and just rest the mind. Ended up falling asleep though. It was so warm and cozy. Oh, for real? What's going on that channel, Phantom? What's going on over there? No nap for me. I'm super tired. Oh, I bet. I bet. Alright. So I went ahead and went through all the breaking, so we're caught up. So let me see here. I'm gonna take a look through everything. I just kind of checked it all off real quick. Take a look through everything and see what jumps out first. I bet. It's like, woo. Let's see here. So there's the full interview right there. And then we got the dad's interview somewhere. I kind of wanted to check out this Michelle Walks video, I think, first. Let me see here. Stop shaving. Well, that's a long one, too. News Nation, please gather new evidence. I wonder... I always hear new evidence, but what's the new evidence? There's the video. So we'll probably watch that first, then go to the full interview there. Let me see here. Jailmate. And let's see. Virginia woman. Who she used to know. Let's see here. Yeah, rest your mind. Let's see. Former profiler 12 minutes ago. Yeah, there's a bunch of News Nation videos on there. And then we're pretty much caught up to there. So, actually, retired offers thoughts. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll actually run through a couple of these News Nation videos, give the show a little time to boot up, and then we'll probably go into that BTK daughter interview and then the dad stuff. Let me we'll just start from the top here. We'll go ahead and go to this first News Nation one, and let me check your links an email while we go through this first one here.
Joining us now is Dr. Alfred Titus Jr., retired NYPD homicide detective, as well
Thank
as
you, everybody, for
assistant
being here.
professor at John J. College of Criminal Justice. Dr. Titus, thank you for giving us some of your time. So we heard the reports from Nancy and from Brian. Kohberger's public defender saying that the 28-year-old drove across the country in that white Hyundai with his dad. Dr. Titus, could Kohberger's father face any type of charge of potentially acting as an accomplice here?
You know, Chemistry Queen, I've been wondering what the hell's been going on, because it's like every day, I'm getting a whole bunch of new people in the last week, and every single day I'm losing subs. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And it's weird. I've heard other people being kicked out. No shit. Maybe YouTube just doesn't like me. I don't know. Huh. Crazy.
Absolutely. That is a possibility. Depending on whether or not his father knew anything, if he had the slightest amount of information about what his son was going to do or what his son had done.
I mean, damn. I like keeping my subs, you know? I only have so many.
He would definitely be seen as an accomplice.
You know, and we have so much yet to learn, but do you think his dad, potentially had any indication?
Absolutely. That is a possibility. Depending on whether or not his father knew anything, if he had the slightest amount of information about what his son was going to do or what his son had done, he would definitely be seen as an accomplice.
And we have so much yet to learn. But do you think his dad,
question.
Potentially had any indication that his son would be arrested on suspicion of murder just days after this cross-country trip?
How does he know?
Yeah.
How would he know? Is he he's a retired homicide. How is he supposed to know what the dad's... Come on, lady.
It would be difficult to say. However, knowing that law enforcement has been looking for that white vehicle and that they were driving the white vehicle, I'm sure questions had to come in his mind, as far as is there a chance? Is it a possibility? If he did not know.
Oh my gosh.
So
that's a weird question. Yeah, I don't know, SRB. It's just been within the last week or two. It's like, it's confusing. It's like, how is it going down when I have new subs? I don't understand that.
Let's talk about this extradition hearing scheduled for tomorrow. Brian Enton was live there outside the courtroom. Are you surprised that Kohberger is expected to waive this hearing?
Absolutely not. It seems to me that Kohberger is in his element right now. There are a lot of times when you deal with individuals who create such heinous crimes or possible serial killers that they are so intrigued and they are looking for that moment of fame, similar to school shooters. And it's very possible that is the case here. We will find out shortly.
Because, and we ask that because, so many times when someone is arrested somewhere else where, where the crime that they're accused of committing, so many times they will try to fight extradition, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of times that is the case, especially when it's outside of the country. So that happens often.
So what kind of clues? Let's go back to the scene of the crime. And then we know that they're searching Kohberger's on-campus apartment there in Pullman. What kind of clues are they looking for, or were they looking for inside his residence there? Is there something when they first enter that they would look for upon making that entrance?
Yeah, well, there are a host of things they would be looking at. I noticed in viewing some of the video that they removed a computer tower. Any kind of computer information is going to be key because it's possible that the connection was made with the victims through social media. Also, any kind of DNA or fibers that are left from clothing that can match fibers found within the apartment. Obviously, the murder weapon is key. In addition to just any kind of written literature, maybe describing, or detailing how to get away with such a crime, how to protect yourself forensically, like by wearing, clothing and then discarding it in certain ways. So they are looking for everything in that apartment, and hopefully, they're able to find some key evidence.
Well, certainly so many people keeping close eyes on this case. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for watching.
I don't know. I mean, anybody could have answered those questions. And some of those questions, how is he even going to know? Unless he's some kind of, unless he's representing the family in some way or some family friend or something. And the other top stories are for us, so that's just a collection. All right, let me go to this one. I think, is this the one that said that? About asking him what makes him tick? I think it might be. Hey, Dre. Hopefully you're doing okay. There's some storms rolling through. We got some storms. We watched Ryan Hall, y'all, yesterday and saw the storms that are coming through everywhere. And it is actual, you talk to an actual human. That's crazy. You actually had to call YouTube and have them reset. Like, what is it, like a cookies thing or something? I don't understand why YouTube does this crap. Like the whole unsubbing people for no reason. That stuff don't make any sense. So Koberger studied under expert on BT. Well, yeah, that's the professor. Is there
bring in now former FBI
a connection still, or
Mary Ellen O'Toole? She's also the program director of the Forensic Science Program at George Mason University. Mary Ellen, thank you so much for being with us. We spoke with you Friday after this arrest was announced. We're continuing to learn new information. Here it is Monday. And so now we know the daughter of the serial killer known as BTK, Dennis Rader, telling Brian Entin, she's fearing that Koberger may have been in contact with her father. Mary Ellen, if that turns out to be true, how does that change this investigation, or does it change it?
It's too early to say. I don't know that it would change it, but it would reinforce that this person had an interest in serial killing.
What happened, Phantom? Somebody deleted all Idaho 4 content. Why? What happened? I don't even know who that is. Crime Circus? Nothing for weather as of yet. Wow. I just watched his latest video earlier. I've never even heard of that person. Oh my gosh, be safe. Yeah, I was watching Ryan Hall, y'all. There's some nasty weather down there. Please be safe. Chemistry Queen, would you like the... Here, look this, here, I'll get the link here for you real quick. Because, if your power goes out or something, it's who I watch. This guy right here. He's live right now, talking about that weather coverage right now. If you're not following him, I'll probably be watching him when the power goes out, if it goes out tonight, because we got some nasties coming through here. It's probably starting to rain already. And anywhere between 10 and midnight, it's supposed to get some nasty stuff coming through. Yeah. So if your power goes out or something, at least you got YouTube in your phone and you can still be updated. He has all the weather alerts and everything. Let's see, yes. It was on the Jack D's things. I mean, it makes sense, not have them up there anymore, Yeah, please be safe with those tornadoes out there. Huh, that's crazy. I mean, it makes sense, though, to get rid of it. If the dude can't, but I don't know. He hasn't... he's innocent until proven guilty. So, but yeah, I could see why taking him down. You know. Thank you, Phantom. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm pretty. It's like, why couldn't you be going on between like noon and 8 in the at night or something? I, we gotta have these nasty storms between midnight and 5 in the morning. You know. Thank you, Chemistry Queen. I know he's like almost at 1 million subs, so you might be the millionth one. I was watching him before the show started, just to try and stay alert. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Mary Ellen, if that turns out to be true, does that change this investigation? Or does it change the investigation?
It's too early to say. I don't know that it would change it, but it would reinforce that this person had an interest in serial killers. And if that's true and did reach out to BTK, it's very likely that they reached out to other infamous serial killers or serious high-profile offenders as well. And I heard the daughter say this, for criminology students, psychology students, forensic science students, it is not unusual to want to go to a prison and talk to one of these people or communicate by letter, because they want to hear what they have to say, especially if there's an interest in, how they committed the crime, the planning that went into it. What did you think about it? So I think that that sound macabre to other people, but based on the academic pursuits of many people, that happens a lot.
Right, and it does make sense, because the more you learn, certainly the more you know, and potentially you could stop something. But then again, when something potentially, goes off the deep end, it's a whole other story. Mary Ellen, we know and still working to try to determine a motive. How much do you think Kohberger's studies, his, apparent fascination with serial killers, if it does turn out to be that, Kohberger's study?
This lady's questions are just, I don't know. I don't get it. Dre, if you let's see here. Ryan Hall, y'all. Ryan Hall, y'all. So if you go to somebody's channel, see right here where it says subscribed. That's just subbing them, subscribing to them. It's free. Subscribes and likes are free. Yep, 998K right now. He's almost to 1 million. Fingers crossed, dude.
Apparent fascination with serial killers, if it does turn out to be that, how will that play into determining a motive?
Well, there could be multiple.
Yeah, Chemistry Queen, please be safe. Thank you for hopping in here, and definitely have Ryan Hall, y'all, on if you lose power or anything. Even if you're not losing power, I'm telling you, it's the best weather coverage, even better than a lot of local news coverage out there of storms. And the best thing is it's on YouTube, and you can have it in the basement, and you don't need to have power to watch it. You just need a good battery on the phone. Please be safe. And I hope you have a good night.
Motives in a case like this, and obviously right now he's a suspect. He's not been found guilty, but there may be two faces here. Someone that is academically very well educated and prepared those questions in a survey. So there's an academic interest in what happens when someone is committing a crime. And then you have their own interests, their personal interests. Again, if he's found responsible for having committed the crime. So there may be a merging of the two there, where both of those will contribute to the motivations, the academic interest, but also the personal violent ideation that would have preceded the academic pursuit as a PhD student.
And, and Mary Ellen, this next question may seem like an obvious answer, but we're wording it specifically here. Why do you think there are so many examples of murderers or alleged murderers in this case who also had a fascination or studied criminology or subjects like that?
Well, I have to be honest with you. People are just fascinated by murder, and as sort of macabre as that sounds, it's an absolute interest that's been growing over time, and you can see it by the way these programs have grown in terms of the number of students that apply to be a forensic scientist or apply to be a psychology major or a criminology major. So you've got that interest from the perspective of the non-criminal, but then from the perspective of someone who commits a crime, especially a crime like a serial murder case or a mass murder case. We know from past experience how much planning can go into these crimes based on the study that they do of other cases. So they're interested in how it was done, why it was done, how did they prepare. Like as an example, the two Columbine shooters, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, are really icons in the whole field of mass murders, and people study about their crimes. Yes, they are interested in them, but in a small number of cases, there are people that follow those crimes so that they can do it better. They can do it the same way. They can learn by their mistakes. And we've seen that copycat phenomenon really since that actually preceded Columbine.
I like this lady. The last couple days, she said some really good stuff, and that sounds like what he was trying to do, perfect it, what others couldn't.
That's what many times it can be so difficult to try to navigate, report on these situations as well. Always a pleasure speaking with you, Mary Ellen. Thank you so much for your insight today. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider, and don't forget.
Yeah, this sounds like that's what he was trying to do. Hey, Allison Faye, thank you for hopping in. It sounds like he was just trying to perfect it. I like that lady. She's had some really good stuff on News Nation the last couple days. I like that lady a lot. Okay, let me see here. So these were the two chronicles of Olivia, the former friend. Neighbors tell us about his odd behavior. I want to go to these News Nation ones, though. Yeah, so scary but true is right. Hope you're doing okay, Allison. There's some nasty weather going around the whole country here and there, so hopefully you're doing okay over there. Let's see, suspect in universe. Okay, I'm going to go to this one next. And then we're going to go to the interview with the dad here. So let's go to this one. Police gather new evidence. I always see new evidence, but I don't hear the new evidence. Let's see if there's anything on this one.
Let's bring in now correspondent Nancy Liu. She is live in Moscow. And Nancy, right now investigators examining evidence taken from Kohberger's on-campus apartment there over in Washington, and you spoke with forensic experts about what could really be the smoking gun, so to speak, in this case.
Yeah, Nicole, that would be the murder weapon. A lot more evidence is now being processed after the arrest of Bryan Kohberger, and a trove of items removed from his WSU apartment, and now a cascade of information about his past and recent interactions. Forensic technicians went into Bryan Kohberger's WSU apartment right after his arrest on Friday, spending all day inside. By night, dozens of camera flashes as investigators took pictures and then left with multiple boxes and suitcases, along with a large computer tower. New digital data is possible, and more valuable will be potential fibers or trace evidence in the apartment from the Moscow murder scene.
He can touch those surfaces, and if he's unclean from what he has just perpetrated, if he has not thoroughly washed himself, you're going to have deposition of all of this stuff throughout the scene, and that's very, very important in this case.
Police Chief James Fry would not confirm that Kohberger's DNA was inside the home on King Road, but the chief believes the person who committed the murders of Kaylee Gonsalves, Maddie Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin is Brian Kohberger.
We're focused now on who he is. That's why we keep asking people, send us information. If you've dealt with him at any point in time, this is now where we become more laser focused on one thing, and we're going to find out as much information as we can.
He became a little chattier. He became a little more animated.
According to criminology Roberts, Kohberger seemed talkative and outgoing, but before that, he often appeared tired and worn out. Forensic psychologist Gary Brucato believes that behavior change is notable.
This event was sort of invigorating and might have brought him to life or given him a sense of power that suddenly pulled him out of a depressive state where he felt helpless and powerless and insecure. So you imagine a person who's now been given a huge jolt of ego.
It's not known yet whether the murder weapon or any incriminating evidence is in the new round of processing, which also includes the white Elantra, driven back to Pennsylvania last month by Kohberger and his father.
Ego is the key. Ego is also what leads to them getting captured. And I do indeed think that's what went on here, overestimating one's ability to get away with a crime.
That's a good point.
If he's such a genius, why did he not divest himself of this vehicle? That vehicle itself is a rolling crime scene.
Yeah.
As a PhD candidate, Kohberger also worked as a teaching assistant at WS.
That's a good point too. If the vehicle was used in the crime, it is a rolling crime scene. That's a really good way of putting it.
Criminology undergrads had complained about his harsh grading, but reportedly after the time of the murders here in Moscow, he was not as strict and didn't push back and challenge students' work as much. Nicole.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah, that's some good stuff. Oh, you're good. Thanks for hanging out so much, Bruin, and helping out so much. I appreciate you hanging out here. We got, it is going to be a decent amount of listening tonight here in the beginning. We got an interview with Kaylee's dad, and then we got the full interview with Brian Enton and BTK's daughter. So, speaking of, we can get into that one later. We're gonna listen to the interview. Okay, due in court tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 Central. So we'll be going into that tomorrow night, the whole court hearing. We'll definitely be going that. Let's see here. I don't know if I put too much into that. That could be a lot of made up stuff there. I don't know. That'd be weird. Screams violence at guards. He probably just is quiet and reserved, I would assume. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. What's this person? Brian, Idaho student. Crime Stories Obsessed. I do like her channel here. Where's Kaylee? Is nearby. Oh, what? Okay. There's some weird ass stories coming out. There's some weird ass stories coming out there. All right, then we watch that one. So I'm gonna go to I'm gonna go to this Crime Story Obsessed UK video, and then we're gonna go to these other interviews here. But they're getting your raking. The raking. What was it like? What kind of ranking did you have to do, Kip Kitty? So let me go to this channel link here. We're gonna hit this one up, then go to the News Nation. Here's Crime Stories Obsessed UK. If you were in ATS's stream this morning, you seen Crime Stories Obsessed UK, hop in and say hi. So that's the channel. And we're going to hear what this disgusting person, Brian, Idaho student's video is. Here's the link to the video.
To show you something, as you know, the 4 students that were murdered on the 13th of November, and now Brian Koberger has been arrested for 4 counts of murder and, breaking and entering, or whatever you call it over there in the US. And they've now arrested him. It's going around all over social media. What links was there? We did find on this channel that there were links to Maddie, Kaylee and Zana's Instagram profiles. He was following all 3 of them. Now, I did find this today and I thought this was interesting. So it was from 4chan and it's dated Monday, the 12th of December. I'm going to save the message that I'm going to read to you until the very end. Okay, I'm going to read it out, but I'm going to put it right at the very end of the video because some people might not want to see this. It is very graphic in nature in what it's saying. And it is, I've had to block a certain word out because of the CUN, word. So it's not particularly nice, but I will put it at the very end so that you can see that it's real. But we'll talk through it, okay? So this guy goes on 4chan. Obviously, he's under this anonymous account. It says anonymous. And it's dated Monday, the 12th of December. The only thing that makes it known that he's in America is a little flag next to his name. As it would be me, it would be like an English flag, but it's got an American flag. And it says, I hung their intestines from a ceiling
Oh, yeah, I
fan.
reread that earlier in the week.
I'll tell you guys, it's not nice. And shoved my knife up one of the victims, beginning with K, her, you know what. I'm hiding in the woods in an S-hole in PA. Good luck catching me. Now, this information, as gruesome as it is, and as terrible to think anybody could even make that stuff up, and there are stupid people out there that will. I mean, look at the other day, I showed you his name on Instagram, and right at the very beginning when I checked, there was 3 accounts for him. Now there's like 25. It's like, there are some crazy people out there that just want attention.
Yeah. You don't know what's real.
But if any of this is true, and it's not been released via the media from police, it's not being released that any of this is true, that the intestines were hung and all that stuff. But I suppose if it was true, that might be something that they're holding back. It's just not nice to read, I mean, with the wording and everything. Anyway, the reason why I wanted to show you this was because, first of all, this person is basically saying I did it. They're saying, I hung the intestines from the fan. They're basically saying I was the one that did it. But they are also saying I'm hiding out in an S-hole, in PA. Now, being from the UK, I don't know what PA is. So I Googled it and it told me it was Pennsylvania. Well, that's exactly where he was found, wasn't it? Or he was from? Like, isn't that where they got him from? Anyway, then it says, good luck catching me. So, was this really Brian? And was he toying with investigators? I'm hoping that someone sent this in and they were able to do some hard drive search or try and work out who this was and whether this has anything to do with the fact that they found him. I don't know, probably not, but I just find it strange that whoever it is anonymous. They're basically saying that they're in PA. I mean, they could have said they were anywhere, but they said they were exactly where he was. This is dated on the 12th of December, so it was back when nobody knew that it was Brian. They're toying with investigators, saying, "Good luck catching me." And
that is crazy how when we were reading that, it said in PA, some shithole. It had to be him. It had to be him, because who would know? I mean, out of all the states, even close to Idaho, and PA was the state in the woods, which it said that each house out there in that area has like an acre of property per house.
And they're talking about a particular part.
Here, let me see what exact date she said again.
This is dated on the 12th of December.
Yeah, 12th of December. Wow.
So it was back when nobody knew that it was Brian.
Yep.
They're toying with investigators, saying, "Good luck catching me." And they're talking.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dre. If you do get bored, maybe try and reset it or something. And hopefully it gets better tomorrow. I don't know what's going on with YouTube.
About a particular part of the crime which we've not heard about, and probably isn't true, but if it is, it's certainly something that they have not released, and I don't think they would release. We heard from the coroner, she was very kind of held back in what she would say and what she wouldn't say. There are certain things that they want to hold back so that they don't ruin the investigation. So I'd be interested in what you think about this. Some of you might have already seen it. I have covered up the terrible word, which I'm sure none of you want to see. Other than that, it is at the end of this video. So if you want to have a look at it, you can do. And if you don't, because it is so gruesome, then you don't have to. Okay? Let me know in the comment section what you think. As you know, I am not putting any pictures of him online. I will be posting pictures of the victims because they are what is important. And as much as we need to talk about any connections that he may have, I do not want to put his face out there. I'm fed up seeing him, to be honest. Okay, guys, I'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right, we already went through that post there. It is crazy, though. December 12th. Hiding in the woods in shithole PA. Good luck catching me. Crazy. Yeah, I'm sorry everybody's having issues tonight. Maybe it's the weather, or I don't know. Yeah, December 12th. All right, let's go to Kaylee's dad's interview here, News Nation.
I'm Nicole Burley. It is Monday, January 2nd, Nation Rush Hour, and we start with some brand new details in the shocking arrest and the quadruple murder of 4 callers that's gripped the country. We've been covering it closely from Moscow since the very beginning, and then that major breaking news Friday, an arrest in the case 47 days later. Brian Koberger, a graduate student studying criminology at Washington State University, just a 10-minute drive from the University of Idaho. He was taken into custody in Pennsylvania. His extra hearing is scheduled for tomorrow, and we're learning more about his studies under a serial killer expert and a treasure trove of evidence from his apartment. But first, and new just into our newsroom, the father of one of the victims, Kaylee Gonsalves, breaking his silence on this arrest to senior national correspondent Brian Enton, who joins us live from Pennsylvania. So Brian, what did he tell you?
Yeah, Nicole, I just wrapped up this conversation with Kaylee's dad, Stephen. Still heartbroken, but said initially when they learned about the arrest, they were the first to learn about it from police late Thursday night that the arrest was going to happen. They felt some relief. They even felt joy to a certain extent. But now the feeling is just being overwhelmed, knowing that the court process is about to begin and that they are going to see the accused killer face to face. Accused Idaho killer Bryan Kohberger could be in Idaho as early as tomorrow night after a hearing in Pennsylvania where Kohberger is expected not to fight his extradition.
There's going to be somebody there looking him in the face and letting him know that this isn't going away anytime soon. This is just the beginning.
Victim Kaylee Gonzalez's father, Steve, says they are looking for connections between Kohberger and Kaylee and the other victims.
I'm biased, but if you got to know my daughter, I would think it'd be impossible for you to hurt her. So I think a little bit of us all kind of felt like this was somebody who didn't have a chance to meet her, talk to her, get to know her, because she was a very likable person and she didn't have a mean bone in her body. So I think there's a little comfort in knowing that this person wasn't somebody she trusted and loved.
Kohberger's public defender tells News Nation in mid-December Bryan's dad drove back with him from Pullman, Washington to Monroe County, Pennsylvania in the white Hyundai Elantra police have been looking for. His attorney says Kohberger is eager to be exonerated. I'm a reporter.
Get off my property. It's private property.
Kohberger's family did not answer when I went to their house where he was arrested, but released a statement through the public defender saying they're cooperating with law enforcement. And first and foremost, we care deeply for the 4 families who have lost their precious children. There are no words that can adequately express the sadness we feel, and we pray each day for them. We will continue to let the legal process unfold, and as a family, we will love and support our son and brother. Washington State.
Good evening, Silky. Hope you're doing okay with all them nasty storms around that area. How's your Monday?
University to get a PhD. Kohberger got his master's from DeSales University in Pennsylvania. News has obtained this.
After this, we're about to watch the interview with Brian Netton and BTK's daughter.
This photo of Kohberger taken during a group project at DeSales University in 2019. Students who studied with him tell News Nation they've been told to only talk to police because they could potentially be called as character witnesses in the case. They did say he was, quote, controlling during the group project.
What do you make, Steve, of the fact that, you know, he was getting his PhD in criminal justice and had his master's in criminology, and sort of had this knowledge of the way the system works?
I feel like he definitely was into this type of thing. He had made a lifetime commitment to, you know, wrapping himself into crime and solving crime and figuring out how people got caught, interviewing people, doing different things that a normal student wouldn't be so interested in. So I think he maybe got a little overconfident and didn't realize that there really is no perfect way to commit crime.
Right.
Okay, so tomorrow Kohberger will be in court in the courthouse behind me here in Monroe County, Pennsylvania. We expect him to waive his extradition hearing, and he could be on his way back to Idaho as early as tomorrow afternoon. Nicole?
All right, so Brian, you've also been digging into his and to Kohberger's connection to a well-known serial killer.
Yeah, this is a crazy connection, Nicole. Basically, Kohberger's professor at DeSales University here in
Don't tell me. Got him hooked up with BTK.
Pennsylvania is the pretty much preeminent expert on the serial killer BTK. Interviewed him, had a number of intimate interviews with BTK, the serial killer, over the course of about 10 years, and then wrote the autobiography on BTK for BTK. BTK's daughter is speaking exclusively with us about this connection and even questioning whether Kohberger may have been corresponding with her father in prison. You're going to hear that exclusive interview coming up in about 30 minutes.
Thank you for watching.
And it's not going to be 30 minutes. It's going to be in about 1. Steve's face seems to have gone. I know. And you can't do nothing. You know what I'm saying, SRB? You can't do nothing. You just want to do something, but you can't. Man, I wouldn't be surprised if she got him sit down wink winks conversations. Gosh, can you imagine? And if they did, right? if they did somehow have some weak wink conversations, like BTK is sitting in prison right now just going, that son of a bitch pulled this one off. He got caught, but man. You know what? I'll keep that one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The loss. Okay. Isn't it crazy? Like, I was going through my subs list today over the last couple days, and there's so many streams now about how this person might have been in people's open panels and shit. I'm like, yep. Probably. All right, here's the interview with a lot of streams today saying that shit. I was like, yeah.
What did you first think when you heard that Dr. Ramsland was teaching Brian?
Okay, so this says accused Idaho killer Brian Koberger previously studied under Dr. Catherine Ramsland, who is a serial killer expert. Ramsland is known for having developed a close relationship with the serial killer Dennis Rader, more commonly known as BTK. Full story. Is this a news article? I just want to click on this real quick. Okay, it didn't take us away. Oh, nice. There's a news article that goes with this too. Oh, cool. Oh, it basically... Oh, wait. Watch the full interview. Not that interview. Is there another interview? No? Okay, never mind. That's just... yada yada. Find us online. Okay. There's no closed captioning. Sorry. Let me turn this music down.
First think when you heard that Dr. Ramsland was teaching Brian Koberger?
I found out Friday after Koberger's arrest. I actually saw somebody mention Dr. Ramsland on Twitter. And then I realized, there was a connection there through DeSales University. Like, personally, my first reaction was just like my stomach churned and I literally physically got ill. I live with chronic PTSD. So anything unexpected can really throw me. And knowing that there was now a connection back to Ramsland and she connects to my father, it was just a lot because I've been pretty invested in the Idaho case. I've been keeping up with the news and the true crime community. I've been quietly invested in the case. And so I was pretty shocked to find out that there was a connection to Ramsland and potentially a connection to my father, but we're going to have to wait and see.
Do you think he may have had any sort of communication with your father?
Koberger could definitely have had communication with my father. It's very common for criminology students and in general, the true crime community or just fans or people that are curious in general to contact my father via mail.
What?
And occasionally they do speak to him on the phone.
What?
Knowing how personally connected Ramsland is to my father, I would not be surprised if Koberger had at least tried to write my father. We're going to need to see letters. I mean, potentially, if Koberger has contacted my father, there would be letters in Koberger's house and also in my father's jail cell. I do think if there's a connection made, the FBI definitely need to go speak to my father.
Wow.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's one, but I don't. I need proof. So, people just kind of saying, okay, Koberger was influenced by your father. Well,
Right.
obviously, we know he studied my father
And a
in
lot of
criminology
others.
classes. He
And a lot
probably
of
studied
others.
him heavier since he had Ramsland as a professor. But we need to find out if there's a deeper connection. It concerns me.
Yeah.
My father's had several Mel violations
Most of them do that to learn how to catch them, not learn how to become them.
and various violations, including cyber stalking me. So it concerns me that my father continues to have access to the public, and the public has access to my father.
Wow.
Knowing what
on.
you know about
I wanna-
Dr. Ramsland,
Classes, he probably studied him heavier since he had Ramsland as a professor. But we need to find out if there's a deeper connection. It concerns me. My father's had several Mel violations and various violations, including cyber stalking me. So it concerns me that my
Her dad has cyber stalked her?
father continues to have access to the public, and the public has
What?
access to my father.
knowing what you know about
Exactly,
Dr.
Phantom.
Ramsland, I mean,
Thank you.
do you think she may have had an inclination
Thank you
that
for
something
putting
was
that.
off with Koberger because she studied your father so closely and has been studying serial killers for so long?
Why can't I show the comment?
I mean, at this point, we need to believe that Ramsland, in good faith, didn't have any clue that Koberger was capable of this form of deviance. I mean, I have questions about
Sorry about that. StreamYard freaking kicked me out. I don't know what's going on. It did this to me a couple shows ago, too. Sorry about that. All right, let me go ahead and hit play
supposed
again.
drug use or previous drug use. At this point, we need to believe that Ramsland, in good faith,
What the
didn't
hells?
have any clue that Koberger was capable of this form of deviance. I mean, I have questions about how did he get into the master's and PhD programs. I have questions about was he background checked? Did his supposed drug use or previous drug
Right.
use was that
Right.
taken in consideration? On the other hand, after being raised by a psychopath, I do know that they can hide very easily. That they can put on several masks and basically change how they're interacting with you, mimic you. Basically, a lot of times they're talking.
Yeah, we're all having problems here. Like, I even got booted from StreamYard a second ago. It's like, what the hell's going on? Everybody's stuff is messing up.
Saying to you what you think they think you want to hear. So I would assume Koberger held himself in a certain way in a professional educational setting. I'm kind of shocked how far he's made it into the criminology fields.
Huh.
But it's happened before. My father has a criminal justice degree. D'Angelo, Golden State
Really?
lawyer, he has one.
Wow.
Bundy, I believe, studied criminal law.
Right.
So it happens.
Wow.
I mean, you can be an expert on psychopaths and they're still going to trick you. And honestly, somebody like Koberger probably found that thrilling. I don't know to what degree where his deviance caught up with him, or to what degree he knew he was deviant or he was capable of this kind of act. But I'm assuming, based on what I know about like my father and other, you know, serial killers like my father, they kind of get off on being smart and thinking they're smarter than everybody in the room, and,
else.
you know, they're not going to get caught. I definitely can see that being a case here with Kohberger.
You know what it's like to be a family member of someone who's killed. I mean, what can you say about what Kohberger's family? I mean, he's just a suspect at this point, but what can you say about what his family may be going
through? Utter you. I mean, at this moment, we have no reason to suspect they knew. You know, we're going to have to wait on law enforcement, but innocent until proven guilty. So as of now, we have no reason to suspect they had any involvement, they had any knowledge. I know people are out there saying, well, what about the car and that the father supposedly drove home Kohberger from college? I get it. But I was home for Christmas in December of 2004, stayed in my father's house probably for like a week and a half. That was the last time I saw him. He was already kind of involved for several months with BTK communications with the Wichita police. I vaguely knew about that, but I was not, you know, invested in it. I wasn't really looking at it. And my father would have been the last person I would have suspected. So I got the FBI knock.
StreamYard's been fucking up here the last minute. I'm gonna restart this from her story. I want to kind of start it over just to hear the beginning of it.
Innocent until proven guilty. So as of now, we have no reason to suspect they had any involvement, they had any knowledge. I know people are out there saying, well, what about the car and that the father supposedly drove home Kohberger from college? I get it. But I was home for Christmas in December of 2004.
Okay.
Stayed in my father's house probably for like a week and a half. That was the last time I saw him. He was already kind of involved for several months with BTK communications with the Wichita police. I vaguely knew about that, but I was not, you know, invested in it. I wasn't really looking at it. And my father would have been the last person I would have suspected. So I got the FBI knock at like around noon in Michigan. I lived outside of Detroit at the time.
Wow.
But it was like a detective team with, what I understand, like support from a SWAT team that went in and notified my mom, because they didn't know if my father had rigged the house. They didn't know what they were walking into. They didn't know if my mom was involved. So they needed to be safe. So I can understand the approach they took and why they did it at night. I also know, like, in my father's case, they highly suspected my father, but they wanted to confirm it with DNA. So they watched him, would set up like a car with detectives and kept an eye on him for days, surveillance, or 4 or 5 days before they arrested him, waiting on DNA to come back. They used my DNA. I was one of the first familiar DNA cases to catch one of these people.
Wow.
I might have been the first, I'm not sure. So
wow.
It's a lot. And it's a lot for his family. It's going to be a lot.
Wow.
My father pled guilty, so we didn't have to go to court. But if Kohberger pleads innocent, then they're going to have to probably be witnesses in court, testify. You're talking years of therapy they're going to need. And the quicker they can get into trauma therapy, the better. I made that mistake of not getting trauma therapy for 2 years. I thought I was going insane from the PTSD. So it's a lot. And they have every right right now not to speak to the media, or the right to speak if they want. But I would recommend not speaking until at least the case is over, the trial's over.
Wow.
Kohberger has indicated through his public defender that, he is innocent essentially at this point. That's what he's saying.
I mean, as a family member of someone in this situation, I mean, initially, did you believe that your dad was innocent, or did you immediately, look at the evidence and say, okay, I think he's guilty?
When the FBI agent notified me, I mean, he was clearly, he was like, your dad is BTK. It wasn't a question. And I went into shock instantly. But I spent a while trying to defend my father, saying, hey, he's a Boy Scout leader. He's a church leader. He's a really good dad. He took me camping and fishing. He's basically like my best friend. Like, there's no way this man did what you're saying. And for me, 7 of the murders took place before I was born. Right. So I didn't even know about the BTK cases until 2004 when my father came back up in communication. So I'm asking, what are the dates? Because I'm trying to alibi him. I'm questioning what's happening. I said, you got the wrong guy. You had arrested the wrong guy in December. I'm asking for dates. And then he says 86. And then I remember that my neighbor lady down the street had been murdered in 85 and that it was a strangulation and as far as I know was unsolved.
Whoa.
So I actually, as far as I know, turned my father in to be looked at for the 8th murder. And they called it, the FBI agent stopped and called it back.
Whoa.
And then there was a 10th.
Whoa.
So, but my father was confessing within 6 or 7 hours of that day. And so we were called by the FBI that night and told that he was confessing. And I literally was like, he's confessing to what? You're still just in complete shock and denial and arguing, with the FBI. And then they said they had found mementos that my father had taken from the victim's crime scenes inside my house.
Wow.
So that night I was still trying to alibi him. So I was researching the cases, trying to alibi my father, trying to remember when I was a little girl. I mean, we're talking about when I was 6, 7, the oldest I was 12. And I came across an audio tape of my father where he had been reporting a homicide in 1977 before I was born.
What?
A little clip. And in hindsight, I knew right away it was my dad.
What? Hold on.
In my house. 7 hours of that day. And so we were called by the FBI that night and told that he was confessing. And I literally was like, he's confessing to what? You're still just in complete shock and denial and arguing, with the FBI. And then they said they had found mementos that my father had taken from the victim's crime scenes inside my house.
But the recording of what?
So that night I was still trying to alibi him. So I was researching the cases, trying to alibi my father, trying to remember when I was a little girl. I mean, we're talking about when I was 6, 7, the oldest I was 12. And I came across an audio tape of my father where he had been reporting a homicide in 1977 before I was born. A little clip. What? And in hindsight, I knew right away it was my dad.
He kept the fucking recording?
As far as I know, I had never heard that audio clip before then. I was protected. I was 26. I was young, married, protected, living outside of Detroit, Michigan.
Whoa.
Honestly, if I had been in Wichita, still living with my parents, not married, I probably would have had my nose thick in this case, in the BTK cases. And it could have been a completely different ending to this story if I had been.
Whoa.
So within that first night, then I had to start coming to terms with that my father had done this. And the next day they announced that he had committed these 10 murders. And I ended up going home and being with my family. My mom was in denial, you kind of go back and forth. You go through this grieving process. She said it was like her father, like my father had died, like her husband had died. So everybody just deals with it differently. And then there's letters early on between me and my father. I'm basically saying, look, if you did this, if you're guilty, take the plea, spare the community, spare the victim's family, spare us. And he did take the plea. But my family didn't speak to the media. We were told early on by the FBI, don't talk to the media. It's going to make things worse. I was like, make what worse? By the first day, I saw a video of you knocking on their door. That was my reality of cameras,
Sorry, I was zoning for a second there because I'm like, he had a recording, a small recording of one of them. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oblivious. I mean, like his daughter was saying, he's a Cub Scout leader. He's a something of the church. Oh my gosh. What a freaking interview, Brian Enton. He is so good.
He did take the plea. But my family didn't speak to them. We were told early on by the FBI, don't talk to the media. It's going to make things worse. And I was thinking, what worse? By the first day, I saw a video of you knocking.
Me too, SRB. I mean, I was just zoning for a second. Like, the dude had a fucking recording of one of them. What the hell? And then she heard it.
On their door. Like, that was my reality of cameras, in my hallway, in my apartment, people knocking on the door trying to get interviews. I know you guys have a job. I get that now. Early on, I was so angry at the media. I was angry at the media, angry at the FBI. I just angry at everything. So,
I mean, with knocking on the door yesterday, but sometimes people
it's your job.
And they also sometimes you're surprised and they want to talk.
They talk. I mean, that's a right of everyone to talk or not to talk. And we thought not talking, sort of being that good Midwestern shut down, quiet, private family was the answer. But I was suffering. I was dying inside. I literally was dying inside for years. And so when I finally did start talking, and I started with my hometown newspaper because they knew the story and they handled it well. I wasn't even supposed to start talking in the fall of 2014. It just happened. But talking helped me in a way nothing else could. So even talking to you helps. And then talking about it, because it's so rare for somebody like me to actually be able to speak up and willing to speak up, that I've had thousands of people reach out to me since I've spoke up saying I'm helping them because they have criminal in their family, or they have mental, or they have trauma, or they've committed a need to forgive somebody. So I never expected that side of it. And that's all grace.
It's crazy. Hey, Cherry.
To be able to sit here and say like, hey, I've been there, and you will get through this and you will survive, And I've been there where my family is still accused of hiding things. It's been almost 18 years. And my mom is still accused of having hid things that she knew about my father. I mean,
wow.
One man's actions 40 some years ago still affects me daily. Families, affects community, law enforcement that spent decades of their career trying to catch my father. I mean, do you know what that does to a detective? I mean, and now you're talking about the Idaho murders and those young policemen that went in first.
Yeah, all the counseling that's needed after all this, Yeah. Wow. That's true. Wow. And that's true too. Like, the stuff that they saw when they walked in. This is a great interview. What an interview.
Having families affects the community. Law enforcement that spent decades of their career trying to catch my father. I mean, do you know what that does to a detective? I mean, and now you're talking about the Idaho murders and those young policemen that went in first. Do you know how much trauma counseling they're going to need? How much care these families are going to need? The media will go on. You're going to go on to the next horror and the next horror. But there's so many people profoundly affected for the rest of their lives and lost. I mean, we lost 4 young people. We lost their chances of being married, having children, being positive influences on society. We just lost them for no reason other than some guy couldn't control his deviant behavior and didn't ask for help. There was nothing stopping my father from walking into a police station in January of 74 and saying, I'm getting ready to commit this crime. Can you help me and put me in a mental hospital? There was nothing stopping Kohberger from doing that. They just don't care. They're a psychopath.
Jeez, listen to that. That is amazing. I've never heard anybody say it like that. That's the best way. That is the best way to say that. Wow.
Deviant behavior and didn't ask for help. There was nothing stopping my father from walking into a police station in January of 74 and saying, I'm getting ready to commit this crime. Can you help me and put me in a mental hospital? There was nothing stopping Kohberger from doing that. They just don't care. They're a psychopath. They have this line. We have lines. We have moral lines we don't cross. They don't have one. Or it's very thin.
Kohberger being a criminology major and now getting his PhD, clearly interested in serial killers. Do you think the fascination, is part of the problem?
I don't know. It's so messy. I mean, you've got to train young minds to catch these guys, and you've got to train them to catch them faster, right? So you're going to have to educate on these crimes. You've got to put my dad's in the textbooks. All these big guys are in the textbooks. You got to put them in there because you got to study them. But where is that line of where it becomes a fascination or obsession? And where does it become a line of trying to one up these guys and commit the perfect crime? In my opinion, that's where we're at with Kohberger. In time, we're going to be able to tell. But I feel like I have a question. Did he join criminology to want to learn to maybe become like a detective or a forensic psychologist, or did he go into it knowing he had deviant behavior? Because my father knew he was a deviant from childhood, according to my father. But we're talking about with my father, somebody that didn't get help in the 40s and the 50s. There was no help. There were no labels for these guys. Nowadays, we would call my father saying he had a conduct disorder. Okay, so what's Kohberger's past? What you don't just walk into a house and do this. Now, it maybe was his first murders, in my opinion. Time will tell.
That's what I feel too. That it was
there's a lead up of behavior from my father was breaking and entering, stalking, drawing these things, fantasizing about bondage. My father's a sexual sadistic psychopath. I don't think that's the MO here with Kohberger. But there's all this hidden behavior that leads up to this.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's not the only connection with BTK. Not that he was trying to copy him or anything, just the connection with the professor. And it's interesting to think that she thinks this is his first one too, probably. I guess me and her are just out on a limb.
Why in this day and age, with all the help that there is, working with these world-renowned, criminologists, why is nobody catching this? I mean, I don't know what that says if somebody is that deviant and is working academically with these people and they're not being caught. I mean, what chance do us regular people have? We don't, really. I mean, if somebody wants to do this, they're going to do it, and that's something I had to learn. It was very hard to accept with my father. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it, and hopefully you just catch them before they do it again.
They're very good at hiding.
Because
I think just the fact, again, I mean, you said it already, but the fact that, he was studying with this professor that has this intimate, close relationship with your father, it's just very strange.
It bothers me on a lot of levels because I know how narcissistic, pathological my father is, and how he wants to be known as this really bad man. He wants to be remembered as that. Was Kohberger seeking that out to be the next Bundy, the next BTK? I mean, People are even saying, hey, Koberger's got the initials BC. The kid you can't blame him for what he was born with his name. But at some point, did that influence him later on?
I doubt that, but I doubt that. Just because you have certain initials or certain name doesn't mean it inspires you.
People are even saying, hey, Koberger's got the initials BCK. Now the kid can't.
What'd she say though a second ago here?
The fact that, he was studying with this professor that has this intimate, close relationship with your father. It's just very strange.
It bothers me on a lot of levels because I know how
she does
narcissistic, pathological my father is, and how he wants.
Oh yeah, how he wants. I didn't know this, that BTK wants to be known as a bad guy. I never knew that.
To be known as this really bad man. He wants to be remembered as that. Was Koberger seeking that out
as a really bad man?
The next Bundy, the next BTK.
Bundy. Yeah,
people are
Bundy.
even saying, hey, Koberger's got the initials BCK. Now the kid you can't blame him for what he was born with his name, but at some point did that influence him later on? Did he think that was neat? Did that drive some of this? I don't know. I mean, the only person that really has those answers is Koberger. So it's gonna take after the trial if he's even willing to talk.
Right.
And if he's honest about it, because with somebody like my father, you can't necessarily believe what they're saying.
Huh.
Like you have to take it with a grain of salt, unfortunately.
Huh.
It's senseless. It's so senseless. It's so senseless and pointless and devastating.
What an interview.
I want to figure out how to stop it.
Oh, poor thing.
Like, it's hard to be the kid of this guy.
Oh my god.
And live with this.
Aw.
And then see somebody else go do this and wonder, did your dad influence him? Did your dad talk to him? Like, was he studying my father outside of academics? I mean, am I ever going to get answers to that? I don't know. And it doesn't matter. Thousands of people have told me it's not my fault. That I couldn't have helped my father when I was alive as a kid.
Aww.
But I still carry it with me every day. So, I mean, I speak up and do this because I think I have some answers, because I'm really, really sick of people saying like psychopaths don't have feelings, that it's all just a shell. And that's not how I knew my father. And the reason they hide so well is because for my father, he could turn it off and on and show you what he wanted to show you. But when he was with me, he was my dad. He wasn't ever BTK. I don't know BTK. There's only one person that survived BTK. So I'm interested, does Koberger sort of have like that, those shells and layers, who he's showing people? I don't know. We'll probably find out in time. Maybe. I'm just really, really, really thankful they caught him so quickly. Excellent work on Ellie's part.
Yeah, it's that technology.
And nowadays with DNA.
Yep.
There isn't the perfect crime. It doesn't exist. Not anymore.
Right. Not with the
so
DNA.
If anybody out there is trying to do it, just don't. You're going to get caught and ruin your life and everybody else's life around you.
Wow. I'm going to throw that link in chat again. I knew I threw it up there a couple times already. What an interview. Holy crap. That's crazy. Poor thing. Yeah, what an interview. Poor thing. Wow. Especially at the end there. Wow, what an interview. Whew. All right, let me check the breaking real quick. See if we have anything else here. Ooh, another News Nation video. Ooh, and that one lady that just started being on the News Nation, that blonde, she's on there. Let me see, former friend. Ooh, there's a couple more new videos out here. Okay, let me go to the latest.
Past of hard drug abuse, bullied, then bully, like to play mind games,
I know that was
silent in custody,
man,
sleeping most of the time in custody. His father flying out to drive the 3,000 miles back with his 28-year-old son in the car the whole country was looking for, stopped by cops twice in Indiana, the car not flagged. Now, all of that until the cop activity, Mahandi, what does that mean to you?
Well, I think this is a bright guy. He's organized, he's purposeful, highly intelligent, and it's a lot of goal-directed behavior. I'm curious about the police stopping him twice. I'm wondering if that was a pretense or actually, they stopped him and didn't know. Sometimes these things can be orchestrated as part of an investigation, and we know they were watching him. But I see a guy here that knows what he's doing. He's probably not going to qualify for any kind of mental defense if indeed he's the person that is responsible for these things. And it goes along with a personality that, he's being purposeful. He's got a reason for doing what he's doing.
One follow-up, Chris. It's one thing to have the argument of an innocent person wouldn't falsely confess. We all know about custodial interrogation. We know how those tactics tend to break down an honest person without, exposure to the system faster than they would someone who knows the game that the police can play in interrogation. But we're not talking about that. The police can play in interrogation. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about somebody who, if they had nothing to do with this quadruple homicide, has said nothing about it to authorities. How unusual to you is that he's sleeping most of the time in jail and there's no account other than his silence?
Oh, I think it's somewhat unusual. It's not entirely unheard of. But he's studied it.
That's why I don't believe all these other, because in the beginning of the show there's all these videos about how he's screaming at guards and this and that, and I'm just like, what? If this dude's trying to get back as soon as possible to prove he's innocent, then why is he causing ruckus? I don't. So this guy right here, yeah, he's just sleeping, hanging out, being quiet. We'll see what the truth is.
Really unheard of. But he's studied this stuff, and if indeed he's our person, he's studied it and knows his best approach is to keep his mouth shut and basically, work on resting and kind of getting himself, into this game, if you will. Because I do believe he sees this as a game. I think he's seen it as a game as he was sitting in the classroom of that, purported expert on killing, thinking that he's pulling one over on her. Asking questions, and there he is in the midst of the so-called expert, and to him, I think he was, getting a laugh at that, if indeed he's the person. But, he's being thoughtful, and he's being mindful, and he's being purposeful. So I think it is unheard of, but I think it's also him, it's not entirely unheard of, but it's him being, focused on what his, next play is going to be.
Counselor Garrigus, you got another side on that?
Yeah, I do have another side. I always shy away from the kind of off the court psychoanalyzing until we know more. I mean, I could put together a story where the father had pre-planned this and he wanted to spend time with his son driving back.
You never know.
And why wouldn't they do that? Just because he's 28, does that mean you abandon your kid at that point? Having a son around that age, I can relate to wanting to take a long drive with him and talking to him.
What? So you would fly cross country just to help drive your son cross country back instead of giving him 28 years old, instead of giving him a couple $100 and saying, hey, stop at 2 Best Westerns on the way?
That's number one. Number two, you know, there's lawyers that are both representing him, public defenders in Pennsylvania and in Idaho. Both have said and have either talked to him or advised him, and they haven't said what they've said, but by implication.
So he has a public defender in Idaho already? Yeah, I think he's sitting quiet saying nothing too. So this guy just said he's got a public defender in Idaho already as well.
And have either talked to him or advised him, and they haven't said what they've said, but by implication that he believes he's going to take a long drive with him and talking to him.
Listen to this.
That's number one. Number
he's
two,
got a public defender.
There's
PA,
lawyers that are both
in Idaho
representing him, public defenders in Pennsylvania and in Idaho. Both have said and have either talked to him or advised him.
And both.
They haven't said what they've said, but by implication that he believes he's going to be exonerated. We haven't even seen a probable cause affidavit yet.
I'll play it again.
I mean, I could put together a story where the father had pre-planned this and he wanted to spend time with his son driving back. And why wouldn't they do that? Just because he's 28, does that mean you abandon your kid at that point? Having a son around that age, I can relate to.
It's called 28. He's a grown fucking man.
Wanting to take a long drive with him and talking to him. That's number one. Number two,
he's a grown fucking man.
There's lawyers that are both representing him, public defenders in Pennsylvania and in Idaho. Both have said and have either talked to him or advised him, and they haven't said what they've said, but by
oh my gosh, Phantom, that's a good fucking right? Maybe it is the freaking coroner in Idaho. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? Because she just did it for another case recently before. Can you imagine if she ends up being the freaking public defender? Oh, I didn't catch that. I didn't catch they're not flying him back. I thought they were going to have FBI or something set up. So they're driving him, huh? I didn't think they would take the drive that far because that's a long distance for him to try and pull some sneaky shit, you know? Or for something to break down. Wow. I'm surprised they're not flying him back.
Implication that he believes he's going to be exonerated. We haven't even seen a probable cause affidavit yet, and the sheriff is out there screaming or yelling that it's 100% certain. It must be. There's no other person. It has to be him. That's great, but I would just caution a little bit of hesitation until we see what this probable cause affidavit looks like. If they did discover unexplained or unidentified DNA at the scene and then tracked it down through the genealogical database, I understand that as well. That's been effective in a recent case.
Come on, Como, stop him. Look at this crap. He's taking up all this lady's time right here.
Is in California. So I still would say let's wait and see and caution a little bit of
you keep saying the same shit over and over, dude.
Absolutely. Presumption of or embrace the presumption.
Come on, Como, cut him off.
Absolutely.
Look at this. You leave her 20 frickin'. She's not even going to talk.
With both of my huge python arms.
She's not even going to say. What the fuck? Man, that's the whole reason I watched that video, because she was on there. Oh my gosh. And then look at this. It goes crazy. What the hell, man? What the hell? Alright. What the heck? That's the whole reason I watched that video. That is a long way to drive him, that's for sure. Well, you would think so, SRB, but this is the crazy thing, is she was a defendant. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because last thing I knew is she was a defendant, or she was the defender of a person that committed murder, and she was the coroner of the person that was murdered. She was already in a conflict of interest before. Correct me if I'm wrong. She shouldn't be allowed to take the case. Yeah, I know. Yeah, public defender. Cece, her name is Cece Moore, I think is what her name is. She's been on News Nation before, and she's got a lot of good... I've saved some of the videos that she's been in because she's got a lot of really good stuff to say. Man. Ain't that some bull crap? Here, let me hit refresh real quick, because I know there's some other ones on there too. Man, that dude took up all her time. Ooh, give me a second. I think I'm going to sneeze. Woo, all right. Man, she took up all his time. Yeah, I think she was a public defender of somebody that committed murder, and she was also the coroner of the person that was murdered. And this was like a year or two or something, maybe 3. I don't remember for sure. I know it was before, right before. Yeah, crazy shit. I didn't know that you could do that in the first place, and I didn't know that that would be, you could even do that in court. Man, that sucks. I wanted to hear what she had to say. Well, maybe she'll be on some more videos coming up here. Okay, CNN, how investigators narrowed in on the suspect here. Was bullied as a teen. Let me see. Explains hearing set for Tuesday. Okay, yeah, let me hear what this, what CNN says about this. It shouldn't be allowed to
In
go.
our national lead, the suspect in the University of Idaho student killings is scheduled to be in court tomorrow in Pennsylvania, where he is expected to not fight efforts to bring him back to Idaho to face 4 murder charges. Today, CNN's Gene Cassara spoke with the public defender assigned to the case in Monroe County, Pennsylvania.
The man who police say killed 4 college students, then weeks
wow.
later drove cross-country tracked by police, will go back to...
Not many people do like Cuomo or Como or however you say it. I like playing the some of the clips, not because of him, but because of who he has on panel, like that lady. Damn it. He should have let her talk first.
to Idaho to face charges.
Detectives arrested 28-year-old Brian Christopher Kohlberger,
Ethan Chapin, Zaina Carnoodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Goncalves were stabbed to death November 13th in this Moscow, Idaho home.
This was a very complex and extensive case.
DNA was recovered at the crime scene. A source with knowledge of the investigation tells CNN the suspect was identified through genetic genealogy, a process where DNA from an investigation is compared to a public database, potentially leading to a family member of a suspect. Kohberger's lawyer says his father flew to Washington State to bring him to Northeast Pennsylvania for the holidays.
His father actually went out there and they drove home together.
They drove his white Hyundai Elantra. That description was in the immediate area of the killings, police said. CNN confirmed they stopped at a repair shop in Pennsylvania where some work was done on the vehicle.
I believe he
Really?
arrived somewhere around the 17th of December.
Jason Labar, the chief public defender from Monroe
Really?
County, Pennsylvania, is representing Kohberger until he is extradited. A law enforcement source says the FBI watched him for 4 days before he was arrested.
The FBI, local police.
And I'm surprised the FBI wasn't the one that had the press conference on Friday instead of Moscow PD. Because doesn't the FBI, if they capture a suspect like this, don't they usually come out and have a press conference like they would have had a press conference in PA? Or I don't know. I just thought maybe they would have the press conference.
The Idaho State Troopers were at their house at
I wonder why
approximately
not.
3 a.m., knocking on the door and announcing themselves to enter.
Kohberger graduated in May from DeSales University in Pennsylvania with a master's in criminal justice and was pursuing a doctorate at Washington State University, only about 7 miles away from the University of Idaho.
He has to appreciate the seriousness of what is happening right now.
Oh, absolutely. He is very intelligent. In my hour conversation with him, that comes off. I can tell that. And he understands where we are right now.
While in college at DeSales, Kohberger asked ex-cons to participate in a study. This study seeks to understand the story behind your most recent criminal offense, with emphasis on your thoughts and feelings throughout your experience, he wrote on an online message board.
This person that had been, kind of grading my papers was, allegedly this horrible murderer.
Kohberger was working as a teaching assistant in Washington, and one student claims his demeanor and his strict grading changed after the murders.
He started grading everybody just hundreds, and now obviously he seems like he was probably pretty preoccupied.
For victims'
With everybody
families,
with
this
100s.
arrest is a step toward
Wow, he went from grading harsh and leaving a lot of notes on papers to giving hundreds out.
Obviously he seems like he was probably pretty preoccupied.
teaching assistant in Washington, and one student claims his demeanor and his strict grading changed after the murders.
He started grading everybody just hundreds, and now obviously he seems like he was
Wow.
probably pretty preoccupied.
For victims' families, this arrest is a step toward closure and a chance to see Kohberger in
Whoa, 1-star review. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. What is it? Like from people hopping on there right now giving him 1-star review for being a public. I mean, somebody has to do it. Or I wonder if those reviews are from prior cases. But really, it's just an extradition. He just needs him to, make a couple papers and sign his ass out.
in court.
With a little bit of hope, things are moving in the right direction. There was a lot of time of not knowing. We're gonna definitely look this guy and look him in his eyes. He's gonna have to deal
That's
with
funny. 1 star. That's crazy.
And the extradition proceeding will take place right here in northeastern Pennsylvania tomorrow, 3 o'clock Eastern time. And after that, the authorities will get him back to Idaho, where we very shortly thereafter will have his initial appearance to face those 4 felony counts of first-degree murder. And the chief public defender here in northeastern Pennsylvania did tell me that he does believe in Idaho, which has the death penalty, that this quite possibly could be a
capital case. Jake?
All right, Gene Casares in Monroe County, Pennsylvania. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Former Boston Police Commissioner Ed Davis joins us now.
You
Davis,
never
sources tell
know,
CNN
right?
that authorities used a public DNA database to find potential matches between DNA found at the murder scene and then the potential family members, and that led to the suspect. Hypothetically, how would that work? Has that happened before?
Hi, Jake. Yes, it has, and it's being used more and more often. But you have to remember that this is not a definitive test. That will give you sometimes a number of suspects, dozens, maybe hundreds, that you have to start to filter through. And what you're looking for after you get that initial list is people who have some proximity to the crime or some motivation. If his name popped and he was in the area, he drove an Elantra, those are obviously indicators that would have the FBI concentrating on him. And then in the past, when we've run into situations like this, we would attempt to get a direct sample of DNA from the suspect. So those surveillance teams may have been doing more than just watching him. They may have been looking for discarded water bottles or other things that would produce a sample that they could check to be certain that it was in fact him.
And not every one of these genetic databases shares information willingly with law enforcement. I use Ancestry.com. I don't think they willingly share with law enforcement.
Huh.
Others do. How does that work?
I do too, and I think that information is accurate. It all depends on the system that you're putting your DNA into, whether or not they tell you that they're going to share it, and whether you sign a release for it. And in some cases, when you look at that release, it might not tell you directly, and then you're exposing your not only yourself but your family to a review by public authorities.
We learned over the weekend that the suspect and his father drove across the country after the killings, supposedly in this Hyundai Elantra that was possibly seen at the site of the crime scene. What would you want to ask his father if you had an opportunity to?
Well, I would certainly want to ask if there were any indications that he was feeling stressed or disoriented or not.
Hopefully not, you know. Scary to think it can be possible.
Paying attention to things. All of those would be indicators. He may have confessed. Sometimes people in this situation, when they feel safe with a loved one, will start to talk.
I would think that if that was going to happen, there'd be enough public pressure for the courts to get that changed. I would think maybe they got away with it in that area because it wasn't high profile or something. But I think with this case, if they tried to do something like that, then I think there'd be enough public pressure probably to actually, you know, make that not happen, because that is a humongous conflict of interest. I don't know how they were able to do it in whatever year it was. I know it was a couple years ago or something like that, to still be able to get away, like to have that. I don't know. I don't understand. Doesn't make sense to me, unless maybe there's not that many people. I don't know. Still, even if there isn't that many, have a coroner from the next county or something come over.
Or not paying attention to things. All of those would be indicators. He may have confessed. Sometimes people in this situation, when they feel safe with a loved one, will start to talk about it. I'm not saying that happened in this particular case, but those are things that they're going to ask the father.
I don't think so. When the parents are coming out that strong with what they're saying, I don't see him confessing to them and then them coming out with that statement and then failing polygraph test or something and then finding out that they lied.
And
because if that was the case, then don't you think Brian Laundrie's parents would have came out with statements? No, they didn't say shit.
Also, was there anything in the car that may be helpful? Trace evidence is a huge issue in a case like this. So anything that was out of the ordinary would be of great interest to the investigators.
Whoa. What the hell? All right. Here's a new video that came out. Come on, StreamYard. Another News Nation. I told you it's going to be a News Nation night. A lot of videos. Oh, come on, StreamYard. Come on, StreamYard.
Kohlberger is going to waive extradition and head back to Idaho. Why?
Yes, with defender here in Pennsylvania says that he'll waive his extradition hearing. So it'll be a short hearing tomorrow here at the courthouse. This is the Monroe County, Pennsylvania courthouse. Behind me, he'll waive extradition, and they could literally pick him up right then. We're told the hearing's at 3:30 in the afternoon with the assistance of the FBI. Come right out of here, and he could be on his way back to Idaho. Extradition hearing.
Let me start that again.
Short
Shit was going
hearing
crazy.
Tomorrow here at the courthouse.
Short
Monroe
hearing.
County, Pennsylvania courthouse. Behind me, he'll waive extradition, and they could literally pick him up right then. We're told the hearing's at 3:30 in the afternoon. If Moscow police are ready to go with the assistance of the FBI, they could take him right out of here, and he could be on his way back to Idaho tomorrow
Fingers
afternoon.
crossed.
And how he goes, whether it's commercial travel or somebody's chartered a plane, we don't quite know yet.
Okay, so as of 20 minutes, a flight is still in the options.
This is what Kaylee's father told you. Take a listen.
What do you make, Steve, of the fact that, he was getting his PhD in criminal justice and had his master's in criminology, and sort of had this knowledge of the way the system works?
I feel like he definitely was into this type of thing. He had made a lifetime commitment to, wrapping himself into crime and solving crime and figuring out how people got caught, interviewing people, doing different things that a normal student wouldn't be so interested in. So I think he maybe got a little overconfident and didn't realize that there really is no perfect way to commit a crime.
You've covered this since is it that simple, or are there more chapters to this we just don't know?
Oh, I think there are definitely more chapters and layers, but who could have expected that it was going to end this way, Leland, that they were going to find him on the other side of the country here where we are in the Poconos in rural Pennsylvania, and that he is a master of criminology, got his master's in criminal justice here in Pennsylvania, was done with his first semester getting his PhD in criminal justice at Washington State University, clearly knows the system. It's very strange.
Yeah, and police actually pulled him over twice during his cross-country drive all the way back to Pennsylvania. As you've talked to your sources, if he tried to commit the perfect murder with these four people, and this is sort of this theory that he had this idea in his mind that he could outgame the system and proved every murder he was than everybody else. Are they certain he hasn't done this before?
Probably, SRB. That's probably true
they're
too,
not
yeah.
certain. I think, talking to the family today, Kaylee's family, they're just relieved that, he won't have the opportunity to do this again if police have the right guy, because there are so many thoughts that a guy like this, a psychopath, would want to do this again. And you mentioned the cross-country trip. Something else interesting about that, which we confirmed through the public defender, is that Brian Kohlberger's father was with him. So Brian Kohlberger's father in mid-December went out to Washington State, and then they drove back together in the white Hyundai Elantra all the way back here to Pennsylvania. And during that time, remember, pretty much the whole country was looking for this car. And it's weird to think about the conversation they may have been having in the car. He's a student of criminology. He goes to school 10 miles from where the murders happened. Him and his dad talking about these murders.
Yeah, what if his dad was asking him questions like, so what have you heard? Have you heard anything new? Like, he had to have asked, right? That's interesting, too.
There's just so many strange layers to all of this.
Yeah, his family's put out a statement saying that they're willing to cooperate. Here's Cole, but they believe in the presumption of innocence. We got to get that part in as well. Here's Kohlberger's classmate Ben Roberts talking to News Nation.
He very much liked it when everybody in the room knew that he knew what was going on, but it wasn't enough that you knew that he knew. He had to make absolutely so you understood that he was smart, that he had this intellectual capacity.
What are your sources telling you, sort of beyond what we've seen as evidence, which is this alleged DNA connection and the car? Is it possible really just to have that? And you think about a college apartment. I don't know about his college apartment. My college apartment, there was all sorts of people's DNA in it who were over for parties, and a lot of people you didn't end up knowing. Is it just that they have this guy on?
Yeah, the reports right now are that it started with the car. They followed him for 4 days, got his DNA, and that there is DNA connecting him to the crime. Beyond that, we don't have more information. There's this interesting.
All right, let's say that again, Brian.
Yeah, the reports right now are that it started with the car. They followed him for 4 days, got his DNA, and that there is DNA connecting him to the crime. Beyond that, we don't have more information. There's this interesting law, Leland, in Idaho, where they cannot release the probable cause affidavit, which would have all the information about what led to the arrest, until the suspect is physically in the state of Idaho.
Thanks for.
So, you know what? It's got me wondering, is maybe one of the possibilities that this person is so confident, if they did commit the crime, right? Maybe one of the reasons this person is so confident to get back to clear their name is because they didn't get cut. And he knows that he didn't leave any blood behind. So maybe that's what he's banking on. Like, hey, I didn't get cut. I didn't leave any blood behind. You can't prove that I did it. Because he could easily say he was there at a party. If it's not blood, he could easily say he was there at a party. The conversation definitely would think that the kid's schooling us. Yeah, exactly. With what he's studying and what took place just a couple minutes down the road, you think that would have been a topic of conversation that night. But I'm wondering, if he did commit this, speculation, maybe he didn't get cut and he knows he didn't get cut and bleed. And that's why he's so confident. All right, I'll throw the video to this one in the chat.
The breaking news in the arrest of the Idaho suspect,
to this video,
Brian Kohlberger. I wrestled with whether or not to say her name, but it's not his name.
Oh, StreamYard, come on, dude.
It's not a serial killer as far as we know, and I don't think that there's any risk of copycat here, so we say his name. Here's what we know. As soon as he was arrested, information started to come out. Some of it is bogus. Some of this reporting you hear about how he's behaving in the jail, we have good sources there, News Nation, and they tell us not true, that the person who's given that information must be confused or just flat out wrong. So you got to be careful. The TikTok post from one user who said she knew him in middle school and high school, Casey Arntz, that's legit. It got attention, and rightly so. Casey joins us now live from Virginia. Casey, Happy New Year. Thank you for deciding to talk to us and doing some reporting for us.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, didn't even know. It just says former friend. I thought this was just some whoa. And how we get about 5 minutes. Oh, that's awesome.
Of your own with people from his past.
Again, there's the link to the video.
I'm glad to be here.
Wow.
So as you scrub your memories and talk to other people, what now sticks out to you that you think is of the most relevance as perspective for people to know about this person?
Personally, what I'm finding out from former friends and former classmates is that, Brian was bullied When he was younger, he was an overweight kid. When I personally knew him, he was always good to me. Now, over the years, that has changed. I know going into his senior year, he lost a lot of weight. It was then I hear that he might have become the bully. I was not there personally to see that. However, looking back at it, knowing how he knows my brother, knowing now how he knows my other friends,
Wow.
I wouldn't put it past him, because my brother has come out and said that he was bullying him when he was friends with him.
Whoa.
I don't know if that's a lot on his
Now,
character. Yeah.
Well, it's just insight into what this guy is about at a formative time in his life, which of course is high school, and he's only 28, so it's not like, he's my age or something. So this is a formative time. Also, you know for sure that he had addiction issues, and profound ones. We're not talking about vaping, that's bad enough, but this was a heroin addict. He says he went to rehab, and you had experience with him using you to try to get drugs, right?
Yes, he did use me, and I didn't know at the time that he was using me to drive him to get heroin until probably a couple of days afterwards. It triggered me in a way, because I didn't know that I could have been put in such a compromising position from him. But yeah, he definitely struggled with heroin addiction in high school.
Whoa.
One of the reasons that addicts are sometimes pejoratively
Creepy
referred to as fiends is because they can be very devious in finding ways to get drugs. That's what you experienced. But sometimes it's not just the addiction, it is character. And you're saying through your brother and others, the idea that he would want to trick somebody, that he would want to play a game on somebody and have them believe things, or that he away with convincing people of things, was part of who this guy was.
Yes, and from my experience, I never saw it firsthand, but my brother definitely has. Apparently he was belittling my brother. He was making him, just seem kind of stupid.
What you experienced. Sometimes it's not just the addiction, it is character. And you're saying through your brother and others, the idea that he would want to trick somebody, that he would want to play a game on somebody and have them believe things, or that he could get away with convincing people of things, was part of who this guy was.
Yes, and from my experience, I never saw it firsthand, but my brother definitely has. Apparently he was belittling my brother. He was making him, just seem kind of stupid and slower. And Brian always had to be the smartest person in the room when he was with my brother. It was like he was undermining him and just putting him down. And my brother cut ties with him because of this, because it got too much for him.
Wow.
Now, we let the process play out, but it is already, I can tell you, with well over 20 years experience, very unusual that somebody who did nothing wrong says nothing. Now, people can say, well, that's the right way to play the system, and he is a criminologist, and people don't. If they get caught for something that they didn't talk about, and all the reporting we have is that he says almost nothing. He's spending most of his time in jail, News Nation has learned, sleeping. He's not protesting, that he asked a single question of, has anybody else been arrested? How does that square with the person you knew in terms of acting normal in situations?
Honestly, and after talking with my brother for the past couple of days, it seems almost like he's trying to throw off law enforcement.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please.
Where's the rest of that, dude? Dang, that was a good one. Damn, maybe it'll be coming out in another clip. Ooh, make sure I like this video. Wow, I'm keeping that one. Keeping that one, and I'm keeping that one. Criminal justice expert explains Moscow murder suspect's extradition hearing set for Tuesday. Krem 2 News. Here's the link to this video in the chat. Wow.
Kohberger is scheduled to appear in Pennsylvania court
Where's the
tomorrow. What is
rest?
expected. But what does that mean in the overall process of getting Kohberger back to Idaho? I sat down with a criminal justice professor from Sacramento State University to break down what lies ahead for the suspected Moscow murderer.
We know from our sister station in Pennsylvania, Brian Kohberger is behind bars at the Monroe County Correctional Facility. Officials brought him here after he was arrested early Friday morning. And here is where he'll stay until his appearance in a Pennsylvania court Tuesday, where his attorney shared he's planning to waive his extradition hearing.
Basically, all that means is that he is not planning to fight his transport back to Idaho. So he essentially will
Come on, StreamYard.
accept that transport back to Idaho.
Dr. Danielle Slake, an assistant professor of criminal justice at Sacramento State University, explains what this legal phrase means and why a suspect could choose to do this.
My take on waiving that extradition hearing is that he is ready to have his day in court to see the charges against him because they have not actually released the information that they have leading to his arrest yet. So I really take that to mean that he's ready to see what they have on him, and he is hoping to be absolved of being absolved of guilt or blame.
In addition to sharing a plan to waive extradition, this weekend, Kohberger's attorney shared a statement on behalf of his client. He says, quote, Mr. Kohberger is eager to be exonerated of these charges and looks forward to resolving these matters as
And if he did do this, it makes me wonder, does this dude know that he didn't get cut or lose blood? Because there's got to be a lot of different DNA there, What kind of DNA? Hopefully this all gets... I can't wait for the probable cause.
promptly as possible. Dr. Slakoff says the use of exonerated in the statement jumped out at her.
When someone's exonerated, generally that means they've already been convicted and sentenced. So it is an interesting choice of words by him, reportedly, that he used the word exonerated.
She says she's surprised he didn't use the word acquitted.
It's possible he could have said, I'm looking forward to being acquitted, which means being found not guilty.
In a court of law, suspects are presumed innocent until proven otherwise. And despite the
good
noted
point.
interesting choice of words, Kohberger's attorney says at this time, his client also deserves that presumption of innocence.
Kohberger is expected to appear in Pennsylvania court tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 12:30 p.m. our time. Following that hearing, he will be transported to Idaho as early as this week. There, he'll face the first-degree murder and felony burglary.
And felony burglary charges. I can't wait for that probable cause. Yeah, and you know what? I was looking at when that mugshot, right? You're looking at this mugshot, and it's like the dude, with the research programs that the dude was in and all that stuff, and how we feel there's a lot of Bundy connection to it. When we're looking at that mugshot right here, when we were just watching that video and I seen that mugshot, and then I'm sitting there and I'm going, in my head, it just popped up. It was like, did this dude stand in front of the mirror and practice his mugshot face so he could try and match it? Did he practice his mugshot face? All right, there's that one. I did debunked see pinned comment. Okay, so I guess I don't need to watch that one then, right? See pinned comments. That must have came out after. I don't know what that means, so maybe I just won't watch that one. But I did see that come up on other lists there. Gated community, Michelle Walks. I do like her videos. Here's a link to her channel. Here's what her channel looks like. Definitely, yeah, definitely. All I can think is he thinks he did nothing wrong and he's clueless what they've hoping to feel he's. Oh, I know. Can you imagine? That's what I'm wondering. Like, why didn't the FBI? Okay, hold on a minute. Okay. Is it weird that the FBI, maybe it's just me, I don't know. Is it weird that the FBI didn't have a press conference when he was arrested? And I'm wondering if it is odd because I'm reading this comment here and I'm like, what if the DNA isn't blood that they used to arrest him? And what if it's not that slam dunk and that's why the FBI didn't have a press conference saying they busted him? They're letting Moscow PD. I don't know. It's just weird. That's just some weird ass conspiracy shit. I could see him doing that. You never know. He could definitely do that. Maybe he feels he could do better than a public defender. Oh, look at that. Is that a different background or something? All right, there's the Michelle Walks. We're going to watch this video from her real quick. Ex-student discusses complaints and how the look... Oh, that guy popped up on another video. Or girl, whoever. I can't tell.
Remember the video I made last night of Brian Koberg's students saying that his behavior changed, that he loosened up?
All right, and here's the link to the video. Did I put the channel in there? Yeah, I did. No, I didn't. Sorry about that. 1 second. I need to put the channel up there too. I thought I did that already. Okay.
Remember the video I made last night about Brian Koberg's students saying that his behavior changed, that he loosened up, he was a less harsh grader of their papers after the murders than he was before? Well, the student come out and spoken to Ep.67, different student than the information that I gave you last night. So this is a consistent thing. Complaints were about him. A professor had to get involved and made it into kind of like a mock courtroom type thing to get students to engage with Brian, to ask them why he was grading them badly. It's super interesting, fascinating, from a first-hand account of somebody who was actually taught by Brian Koberger. Check it out.
He was pretty strict as far as grading goes. When he came into class, he was very not super mentally present. He would stand up at the front, look at the ground. He had a lot of like boilerplate responses he would give people rather than, maybe something he had thought up on the spot. It seemed like he would be, he'd come in knowing what he was going to say to like most interactions. And then when he would grade your papers, he would be grading you on what he ended up calling like a higher standard. But it really felt like to us was he was grading us like he would have graded himself as a PhD student. And so that was just kind of like, we were all annoyed by him. And so I knew his name, I knew like, oh, T.A. Brian, like he sucks to this. Like he's grading us too harshly. And that was like an annoyance. But obviously beyond that, we just thought he was a little weird and kind of, a bad grader. Our professor was big on the idea that like, if we're all going to be attorneys someday, then we have to know how to argue our case. And so he scheduled a day where everyone, came in ready to argue to get their grades up, and he brought in Brian and he was like, all right, go at him. And he had Brian stand up and everyone was, like a few people were on his side because they wanted to keep their high grades and not like have questions cut out or whatever. But for the most part, it was like, half of a 150 person class just asking him all these real critical questions and he would answer. And he'd actually, he tried pretty hard to defend himself, which was the kind of thing that our professor loved. He wanted the like courtroom environment. And so, so there was just a period of class where we were all sort of arguing about this. It wasn't like yelling or anything, but it was certainly conflict, Yeah, we just, it would have been about a month before winter break when like the murders happened. And we didn't obviously build our framework for this around that.
I am glad that this course has given you a more nuisance perspective pertaining to CJ Have a great break. December 16th at 7:20 p.m. I am glad that this course has given you a more nuanced perspective pertaining to criminal justice. Have a great break. Huh. 7:20 p.m. December 16th.
Because we had no reason to connect him to that, at the time. But definitely around then, he started grading everybody just 100s. Not like you pretty much, if you turned something in, you were getting high marks, and he stopped leaving notes. It was just, he seemed preoccupied is what I would have said at the time. And now obviously he seems like he was probably pretty preoccupied, but it was, it was
Okay, well, my question is did this whole courtroom atmosphere where they were asking him all these questions about his behavior and his grading, when did that take place compared to when the crimes took place? Because maybe he changed his attitude because he had what, half the students of 150 class or 150 member class pretty much jumping on his shit. I wonder when this took place compared to when the crime took place.
much easier. You turn in whatever you wanted pretty much, and he was just grading them up and sending them back.
Maybe after he got stomped on, he just said, fuck it.
He probably, that I saw, he was always a little bit spotty on whether...
Different student.
Oh, shit. CJ, I think CJ meant criminal justice. Here, I'll go back to it. I think it meant criminal justice. I am glad that this course has given you a more nuanced perspective pertaining to CJ. I'm thinking criminal justice. Yeah, like his demeanor changed after the crime. When did this whole class jumping on him? Was that the day before the crime? When did that take place? I didn't hear.
Work for the...
Somebody's in critical condition from an NFL game. He just collapsed
around that because we had no reason to connect him to...
Monday Night Football postponed tonight. Hamlin was given CPR for 9 to 10 minutes, according to... So he just collapsed on the field? Nothing happened? Like, was it from an accident? I can't play it because I'll probably get shut down because I tried playing NFL stuff the other day. Yeah, let me know in chat what's going on with that, and I'll have to see after the show.
That, at the time, but definitely around then, he started grading everybody just 100s. Not like you pretty much, if you turned something in, you were getting high marks, and he stopped leaving notes. It was just, he seemed preoccupied is what I would have said at the time. And now obviously he seems like he was probably pretty preoccupied, but it was much easier. You turn in whatever you wanted pretty much, and he was just grading them up and sending them back. Like, he probably, that I saw, he was always a little bit spotty on whether or not he'd come to class because he had, whatever PhD stuff over the top of it. But the couple times that he did come after or around that time period, I remember him, he had like a little bit more facial hair, just like stubble, but definitely less like well kept than he was. And he was a little quieter. He used to stand up at the start of class and like talk about some stuff sometimes. And this time he didn't really do that at all.
Yeah, thank you.
He was definitely, I think.
Thank you, Allison.
The previous like mental preoccupation that we had been noticing where it was like, he didn't really want to be there. That was at like an all-time high. And he just, didn't look like he was doing great.
Wow. Just didn't look like he was doing great. Here, let me check my inbox real quick. Let's see. We went... Let's see. News Nation. Okay, we got that. Thank you for that link, Phantom. Shy. Ted Bundy. So Shy Omega. Okay, thank you for that, Dre. Let me see. I'll get back to that email here. News Nation. Okay, we got that, Phantom. Thank you. We got that one. Mama Bear. And let me see. Kelt. What's up, Kelt? I know you might be at the hotel or something. YouTube Shorts. Thank you, Allison. Oh, I hope hold on one second. Can I mute this? All right. Here we go. Oh my gosh. Oh, he got hit straight on in the head. My gosh, he just falls straight back. He got hit straight on in the head. Oh, man. Thank you, Allison. Yikes. Man, that don't look good. And it didn't even look like that hard of a hit, you know? Man. Thank you for that, Allison. I appreciate you sending me that. The YouTube short. Wow. It didn't even look like he got hit that hard. That's what's crazy. Oh my gosh, Donovan Mitchell for the Cleveland Cavaliers' first ever 70-point game. Hell yeah, I'm so glad you came to Cleveland, man. We just needed somebody else to help us get over that playoff little hump there, and we're going to the playoffs this year, baby. The Cavs are going to the playoffs without LeBron for the first time, and I don't know how long. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. All right, let me look at previous videos. I know we got a few more here. And these storms are getting nasty, so I'm probably...
Remember the video I made last night?
I'm probably only gonna be streaming maybe another 20 or 30 minutes or so. Oh, hold on. Why am I back on this one? All right, hold on a minute. I'll just go like this. All right, background. This is a local news, I believe. What will the Idaho court process look like? Ooh. Here we go. What will the Idaho court process look like when he gets to Idaho?
Now, just because the suspect is in custody doesn't mean this is the end of this case.
Finally, as the chief indicated, this is not the end of this investigation. In fact, this is a new beginning.
Let's see. Yeah, thank you, Allison. I appreciate that. I wish I could cover sports, everybody. I really do. Because I love sports. I'm just nervous as shit now. I feel like that was a strike, but I don't know. I need to look more into it and see if I really have strikes or not. Because I'm telling you, if that means that I accidentally get shut down here and there because I'm playing sports, that's fine. I just don't want to lose my YouTube channel because of some sports clips or something. But damn, I would love to talk sports a couple nights a week. Last report is he had a pulse, was not breathing on his own. Does it look like the hit? I didn't have it close up. I'm sure other people have seen it like close up. Did it look like the hit to the front of the head is maybe what Phantom. Damn. Oh, they're making the playoffs this year, baby.
Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson now has to work towards a conviction. And now that they have a suspect named, he wants people to be patient with what can be a long and often tedious legal process. There's a lot we don't know right now about Bryan Kohberger and the evidence police have connecting him to this crime. A lot of that is because of restrictions on pretrial publicity and things that legally can't be revealed until Kohberger is brought back to Idaho. Emily Bloom is here now with a look at what's ahead and when we might get.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Allison. I'll copy and paste what it says and send it to you too. I just don't want to lose my YouTube channel, but damn, I'm serious. I would love to have like at least 2 nights a week where it's nothing but sports. Like nothing but sports. I would love that. At least 2 nights a week. Maybe like a Tuesday and Thursday night sports show or something. Tuesday, Thursday.
Those answers.
Bryan Kohberger is behind bars in Pennsylvania without bond.
I know.
Tomorrow, he's in court.
I know, being all quiet and then starts puking on Cleveland.
And his lawyer says he'll waive his extradition to Idaho. Kohberger's lawyer says his client is, quote, eager to be exonerated. As soon as Kohberger's extradition...
Waiting in the tunnel for... Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Waited in the tunnel. I have said before... Fan up. Hey, there's a banner right behind me. 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers NBA champions, buddy. Right behind me.
...is waived, he'll...
It ain't no mistake no more.
...be cleared for detectives to bring him back to Idaho. At this point, we don't know how or exactly...
I'm going to tell you what. There's going to be a lot of Cavs clips if I have sports shows coming up.
...win.
Phantom.
But when he gets here, murder and burglary charges await him.
The factual basis for the charges are summarized in what's called a probable cause affidavit that is on file with the court.
According to the Idaho Supreme Court, that document can't be shared till Kohberger is in Latah County and has been served the arrest warrant.
Oh, that sucks.
That criminal complaint has the answers all of us are waiting to hear.
I promise you we will share with you through the court process or otherwise, whatever we are allowed to.
Once he's here, he'll have an initial appearance with an Idaho judge.
They'll deal with issues such as making sure competent counsel is representing him, and the case will be scheduled for further hearings.
Next, in Idaho, the court has 14 days to hold a preliminary hearing. It's a mini trial where prosecutors call witness and present evidence. This trial is used to determine if there's enough evidence or probable cause to go forward to trial. However, the defendants can waive a preliminary hearing, and there's a good chance that'll happen with this case. If the judge does determine there's enough evidence for trial, the defendant is bound over to district court and has an arraignment.
Oh man, them
Here,
storms.
they enter a plea and start the clock on what can be a long journey towards trial. With so much attention on this case, especially in a small community like Moscow, getting to trial with a jury could be even more complicated than usual.
Something that is always a concern, and it gets so big that people that potentially could be jurors are no longer unbiased. And so that could potentially cause the case to take a little more time to find a jury pool that is, untainted by the media at this point.
And at this point, there is no timeline for the case. What we do know...
especially in it's kind of like Delphi, trying to find a jury, Let's go Raptors. Oh, that's why you... Okay, Phantom. Now I know why you hate Cleveland. Now I know why you hate Cleveland. But come on, dude. You got a championship with Kawhi Leonard. And that shot that he hit when he was falling down into the out of bounds, to win the game in the playoffs. Yeah, a Cowboys fan is about as good as a Browns fan. It's disappointing for both. Bundy didn't confess his guilt until a couple days before execution, so Cobra. Yeah, I know, it's crazy, Silky. Hopefully you're doing okay at work. Man, these storms are freaking going crazy. I took my headphone out because I'm like, is that really fucking thunder?
Remember the video?
Why does it keep going back to that damn video? Okay, stopped shaving. I don't know about that. Did suspect use lessons from... Now, I am kind of curious to hear what Bed Crime Stories does say about that. She does have a lot of good videos. Let me click on that real quick. I think what I'll do is let me see here. Did it click on it? All right, let me click on the channel real quick. So that way I can credit the source properly. I'll probably watch this and then end it for the evening. Oh my gosh. What is going on? Is it even... Oh my gosh. What's going on? What is
Welcome
going
to Bed Crime Stories podcast.
on?
I'm your host, T. Hope you guys are all doing well. Let me ask you a favor. If after
Holy
listening to this
crap.
video or watching it, you find
Oh
you
my
enjoyed
God.
it or learned something, do me a favor, hit that like button, consider subscribing, and leave me a message.
Oh, I
now,
know.
let's dig in. The
This
case
shit's
of the
going
4
crazy.
slain University of Idaho students.
Is it cutting out for you guys like crazy? I mean, these freaking... The fucking thunder here. Holy shit. Let me let it catch up or something for a second. Let me go to chat while I do that real quick. Vancouver Grizzlies. Yeah, I know. Why'd they ever take it away from Vancouver anyway, man? I loved having the Grizzlies in Vancouver. I was surprised. Just low attendance or what? Plus the Montreal Exposés, you know? I thought that was always weird when they lost their team too. The Browns are terrible. Here's a link to the current video. And I apologize if it gets a little crazy. It's often popping over here, up around this area. So I'll probably shut down the podcast after this video from Bed Crime Stories. I'm really interested to hear what she has to say about if she thinks she used lessons. I know she does her homework too. It'd be interesting to hear what she has to say. And then back to the grind tomorrow. So I'll just be on my evening show, 7 o'clock Central, 8 Eastern, as usual, unless there's power issues or something, because I heard these storms could be going through tomorrow as well. So who knows what's going to be going on with all these storms. And we've already been hit a few months ago with the crazy-ass storm where everybody lost power for almost a week because all the power lines and shit being down. So... Fingers crossed. Yeah, it's cutting out, but I kind of understand. Yeah, it's fucking off and popping over here now. That's why I had to take my headphone out, because I was like, what the hell is that? Thank you. I appreciate you hanging out. Thank you so much for the beautiful words. And yes, stay safe as well in your area as well. Ryan Hall, y'all, on YouTube. If you lose power, get on your YouTube on your phone or your mobile device. Look up Ryan Hall, y'all, on YouTube, and make sure you stay up to date on that weather. All right, I'm going to go ahead and play this now. It should be loaded up. Well, kind of. Yeah, it might act a little crazy. I apologize.
Who died on November 13th of 2022 continues to grip the nation and the world. When young, innocent students are done in as they sleep by a mysterious nightcrawler, it gets everyone's attention. For the 7 weeks preceding suspect Brian Kohberger's arrest, this was a whodunit that had everyone within the student's social circle falling under suspicion. All that time, Kohberger was just 9 miles away, studying criminology at Washington State University, grading his students' papers, and listening to discussions about the crime in his own classes without participating. Why didn't he contribute to those discussions? Was he worried he could not control his enthusiasm, his duper's delight? Did he think he might come across as too animated? Or was he afraid he might mention a detail of the crime that law enforcement hasn't yet disclosed? Those would be my guesses. One of the people who was keeping close tabs on the case is a woman named Carrie Rawson. Rawson is the daughter of the infamous serialist Dennis Rader, who nicknamed himself BTK. One of Kohberger's professors at DeSales University in Pennsylvania, where he obtained his bachelor's and master's degrees, is Catherine Ramsland. Ramsland interviewed Dennis Rader for a book she co-authored about him. It is almost certain that Brian Kohberger spent time studying Dennis Rader under Ramsland. Carrie Rawson told News Nation that her stomach turned when she learned about the link between her serialist father and Kohberger. She said, and I quote, "Personally, my first reaction was just like my stomach turned, and I literally physically got ill, knowing there was now a connection back to Ramsland, and she connects to my father. It was just a lot." Well, obviously, we know he studied my father in criminology classes, end quote. Carrie Rawson thought it possible that Brian Kohberger could have even been in contact with her father. She said this: "He probably studied him heavier since he had Ramsland as a professor, but we need to find out if there's a deeper connection. It's hard to be the kid of this guy and live with this, you know? And then see somebody else go do this and wonder, did your dad influence him? Did your dad talk to him? Was he studying my father outside of academics? Am I ever going to get answers to that? I don't know," end quote. If we look at Dennis Rader's modus operandi, it may help shed light on Brian Kohberger's thus far unknown motive for the crime in Moscow and his MO. But let me just say that Brian Kohberger is presumed innocent at this time, and we haven't seen the evidence, so I'm not saying he's guilty, but because he is the police's one and only suspect, I will be discussing him as the possible offender. Back to Dennis Rader. Rader confessed to doing in 10 people in the Wichita, Kansas area between 1974 and 1991, and he is one of the most cunning, dangerous, and horrific serialists of all time. Carrie Rawson, her mother, and her brother never had an inkling that their patriarch was spending time doing people in. He managed to present a face to the family and his community of a loving family man. No one had a clue that he was capable of such horrors. Rader's criminal life began in early years when he engaged in harming cats and dogs. He used ropes in barns to do them in. I can't even talk about this stuff without feeling sick to my stomach. He also had a thing for ladies' undergarments. After attending Kansas Wesleyan University between 1965 and 1966, Rader was in the Air Force until 1970. During this period, he would secretly look in windows to watch women. He also broke into homes to steal women's undergarments. Sometime during the 70s, he got married to a woman named Paula and had his son and daughter. Throughout his life, Rader had many different jobs. Like Brian Kohberger, Rader once worked in security. Rader held various positions at ADT Security. I'm sure ADT is going to be thrilled with that endorsement. And when Rader got a position as a dog catcher and compliance officer for the compliance department in Park City, a Wichita suburb, people who dealt with him described Rader as being extremely strict in his position and even overzealous. One neighbor claimed Rader euthanized her dog for no reason. In my opinion, Rader should be subjected to that as well. Shame on him. Clinical psychologist Gary Brucato of Columbia University, who has recently been a guest on some true crime YouTube channels and whose work focuses on the emergence of psychotic illness, including schizophrenia and psychotic affective disorders and severe violence in the context of psychosis, personality disorders, and other factors, said before Kohberger was arrested or even had his name out there that whoever committed the crime in Moscow was likely a male who led a very regimented lifestyle. We've heard from a student of Brian Kohberger that he was a very tough grader and would leave long comments, critical notes on essays and tests. That same student noted that after the crime in Moscow, Kohberger began giving better grades and stopped writing any comments at all in the students' work. If Kohberger did study Dennis Rader, he would have known that Rader meticulously planned his crimes. Aside from his first crime, which was committed at night, Rader would attack his victims during the day. He considered each crime a project, and he would plan multiple projects at any given time. He once said that he trawled through many women, meaning he followed them around, learned about their schedules, and then selected a few for his projects. He would also name each planned crime, as in Project Piano, which he used when he planned to harm a victim who played the piano. Rader would go to his local library to glean any information he could on them. He would even visit their workplaces. By the time he was ready to commit his crime, Rader knew when his victims would get home from work, and he also knew who lived with them. After his first few crimes, Rader started making it a habit to bring a hit kit with him. In it, he carried duct tape, rope, and a screwdriver, and he wore what he referred to as his hit clothes, and he would later dispose of those items. He was also known to take souvenirs from his victims in the way of underwear, driver's license, and other personal items. As more people who knew or interacted with Brian Kohberger are talking about their experiences with him, we're learning that he was something of a night owl. Ben Roberts, one of his classmates at Washington State University, said that Brian Kohberger often turned up to class looking exhausted and holding a cup of coffee in his hand. This could be down to being a grad student, as well as a teaching assistant, but it could also point to someone who was staying up all night. A neighbor who lived below Kohberger in the apartment complex in Pullman, Washington, told the New York Post that she would hear Kohberger tinkering in his apartment at odd of the day. She said, and I quote, "He's normally a very late night person, going to the bathroom and vacuuming at 1 or 12 in the morning." Could Kohberger have been so exhausted because he was busy at night leading a second life? Law enforcement officials believe Kohberger had been watching the female victims and following them around in the weeks before the crime in Moscow. Many retired detectives on YouTube have honed in on that tree line at the back of the girls' off-campus rental home, saying that it offered the perfect perch for someone wanting to peek into the windows and watch the girls in the kitchen and in Kaylee Gonsalves's upstairs bedroom with the balcony. Could Kohberger have been spending the hours when he should have been sleeping, concealed in that tree line, watching his future victims in the same manner that Dennis Rader did? Is that why Kohberger always looked so tired. The other thing about Brian Koberger's late night lifestyle and his vacuuming that strikes me is this. We've heard from one of Brian's aunts that he had very strict rules when it came to his vegan diet and would only eat food prepared in pots that had never been used to cook meat. And by the way, I do not think this pot situation was due to Koberger following an orthodox lifestyle or a kosher diet. DeSales University, where Koberger studied, is a Catholic institution. Of course, that doesn't mean 100% that Koberger is Catholic, but I would think he probably is. I'm wondering if his strict rule about the pot and his late night vacuuming might be clues that he suffers from some degree of obsessive compulsive disorder or OCD. It isn't, quote, normal to vacuum in the wee hours of the night unless you are someone whose schedule forces you to. While it's possible this is why Koberger was cleaning his floors late at night, it seems unlikely. Most people
Yeah, who would vacuum in the wee hours of the night, really?
who live in complexes and who are considerate
Yeah.
usually avoid making loud noises late at
Yeah.
night so as not to disturb their neighbors. The possibilities are that Brian Koberger is a tad OCD and he doesn't consider his neighbors' feelings, that he's unable to pick up on the normal rules of social engagement wherein a person recognizes that loud noises at night will likely disturb any sleeping neighbors, that he suffers from insomnia, that he had so much work to do for his studies and his teaching position so that he had to do his chores late at night. Or again, he could have been spending those hours of darkness watching the students in Moscow. Another thing that Koberger may have done in imitation of Dennis Rader is communicating anonymously about the crime. There are Reddit posts floating around that many believe were done by Brian Koberger. One of them, under the name of Inside Looking, said this: speculation, killer went to kitchen, then to EX room would mean Ethan and Xana's room, and MK room would mean Maddie and Kaylee room. And when someone wrote on Reddit that they wanted to hear everyone's thoughts on what the perpetrator did or felt in the immediate hours after the crime, that same person going by Inside Looking commented with this: rush of adrenaline, very excited. This comment would match what some of Koberger's classmates at Washington State University said about his mood after the crime in Moscow was announced. They said he seemed a lot more animated, talkative, and upbeat. On yet another Reddit post where someone was talking about how the students were done in, Inside Looking commented with a note that indicated that one sharp-edged object did all 4 students in. And when still others on Reddit were wondering if more than one person committed the crime, Inside Looking made it known that it was one person with one sharp-edged object.
Right.
Then, when people were wondering where that sharp-edged object is, Inside Looking said that the perpetrator took it with him. And we know that the cops have not found that object thus far. These notes or posts definitely feel like they could have come straight from the perpetrator's hand. I hope that the FBI has a way to...
It does. Some of those do seem like it, especially the one that came out before he was even a suspect, came out and said, you know, I hung such and such from the ceiling fan, and, you know, I'm hiding in shithole woods in PA. You know, come catch me. Not gonna get caught, whatever.
Trace the account of Inside Looking so that they can either confirm it was Koberger or rule him out. Such comments, if they were made by Brian Koberger, could be another bit of circumstantial evidence used by the prosecution to try and prove his guilt in court. There are also videos floating around. One is by a person claiming to be a relative of someone working on the investigation. The male voice shares details about the crime that only someone working on the investigation or the perpetrator would know. Take a listen.
To those of you interested in hearing this report, I just want to let you know that I'm a relative of someone inside the investigation into the quadruple homicide in Idaho. I don't want to be any more specific than that because I don't want to put anybody in a challenging or contentious situation regarding their continued employment. And I will say what I'm about to tell you is secondhand, but it is from what I believe to be a very reliable source. Again, this can only be considered a rumor as I don't have firsthand knowledge. I never planned on posting any of this information out of respect for the victims' families. However, now that one of the victims' fathers has released some of the gruesome details himself, I'd like to share some of the investigative theory. As you know, the two women found in the same bed, but with similar wounds. That's what's being reported. That's not exactly 100% true, at least in regard to the fact that they weren't sleeping. One of the victim's wounds were deep gouges that were delivered with extremely aggressive force, so much so that the victim's liver and lungs were destroyed. Here's the theory that's happening. They definitely think it was a man because of the force of the wounds. The person must have been very strong. They think the man came into the room after doing what they did on the second floor. They went upstairs. The person cleanly and quietly unalived the first victim. The second victim awoke and tried to run. They believe that the man possibly grabbed her and she screamed loudly, apparently. The man then harmed her, and the reason the wounds were of such force, he was delivering it quickly and forcibly to quiet her, which I apologize for how I know it's disturbing, but anyway, how do we know that she screamed? Because 3 individuals reported hearing a scream between 3:45 and 4 o'clock.
I'm not going to play the entire audio of that, but if you notice, the person speaking takes a lot of deep breaths through his nose. And I hate to say this, but I'm wondering, like in the photos of Bryan Kohberger, it looks like he has something of a deviated septum. Could that breathing, that very unique stuff that we're hearing, could that be the way he speaks? Normally, I would think that people who know him would be able to tell if that's his voice. If that is Bryan Kohberger, it's absolutely bone-chilling. And to me, it harkens back to Dennis Rader and his MO. Throughout his serialist career, Rader sent taunting letters to the police and media in which he described in graphic detail his crimes. Rader got off talking about his crimes. He was proud of these evil acts.
Wow. I mean, it's pretty interesting, you know? That whatever that was. Yeah. Isn't that creepy? Man, I almost want to listen to that again. Let me see exactly where that was in the video here.
With similar wounds than that, because I want to.
So videos floating around. One is by a person claiming to be a relative of someone working on the investigation. The male voice shares details about the crime that only someone working on the investigation or the perpetrator would know. Take a listen.
Yeah.
To those of you interested in hearing this report, I just want to let you know that I'm a relative of someone inside the investigation into the quadruple homicide in Idaho. I don't want to be any more specific than that because I don't want to put anybody in a challenging or contentious situation regarding their continued employment. And I will say what I'm about to tell you is secondhand, but it is from what I believe to be a very reliable source. Again, this can only be considered a rumor, as I don't have firsthand knowledge. I never planned on posting any of this information out of respect for the victims' families. However, now that one of the victims' fathers has released some of the gruesome details himself, I'd like to share some of the investigative theory. As you know, the two women were found in the same bed, but with similar wounds. That's what's being reported. That's not exactly 100% true, at least in regard to the fact that they hadn't fallen to sleep in the same bed. One of the victim's wounds were deep gouges that were delivered with extremely aggressive force, so much so that the victim's liver and lungs were destroyed.
Wow.
Here's the
Oh my
theory
gosh.
that's happening. They definitely think it was a man because of the force of the wounds. The person must have been very strong. They think the man came into the room after doing what they did on the second floor. They went upstairs. The person cleanly and quietly unalived the first victim. The second victim awoke and tried to run. They believe that the man possibly grabbed her, and she screamed loudly, apparently. The man then harmed her, and the reason the wounds were of such force, he was delivering it quickly and forcibly to quiet her.
Wow.
Which I apologize for how I know it's disturbing, but anyway, how do we know that she screamed? Because 3 individuals reported hearing a scream between
Oh my gosh, this
between
freaking. Oh my
3:45
gosh.
and
Oh, the whole
I'm not
freaking
going to play
apartment
the
shaking.
entire audio of that, but if you notice, the person speaking takes a lot of
Holy
deep
shit, the whole fucking place was shaking. Oh my gosh, the storms out there. Yeah, broken nose or deviated septum, you notice could tell on him if it is in his recording. I don't know, Cherry. It didn't sound to me like there was, but I don't know. But I didn't notice anything different. Very interesting recording though, that's for sure.
breaths through his nose. And I hate to say this, but I'm wondering, like in the photos of Brian Koberger, it looks like he has something of a deviated septum. Could that breathing, that very unique stuff that we're hearing, could that be the way he speaks normally? I would think that people who know him would be able to tell if that's his voice. If that is Brian Koberger, it's absolutely bone-chilling. And to me, it harkens back to Dennis Rader and his MO. Throughout his serialist career, Rader sent taunting letters to the police and media in which he described in graphic detail his
very
crimes.
wow,
Rader
Phantom.
got off talking about his crimes. He was proud of these evil acts and wanted to be famous for them. In fact, it was because of Rader's need to communicate about his crimes and his pride and hubris that he got caught. He sent a floppy disk
Yeah, that's right.
to a Fox TV station in Wichita. A forensic analysis revealed that it had been used by the Christ Lutheran Church in
Yeah, they pretty much pinned it down to him because of that floppy disk. It was technology that busted him. Yeah. I don't know. I'm curious I think it had to do with boxing though. But holy crap, the storms are so bad right now, the whole place is shaking. Fingers crossed, everybody. Please be safe. Check your local weather the next couple days. Prayers. I hope you have a peaceful and positive evening. Thanks for hanging out with me this last week and a half that I've had off of work and been doing a lot of these afternoon streams and stuff. I know they're long streams and I appreciate you guys hanging out so much. Thank you. And man, we've come up with a lot of good stuff. So tomorrow night we'll be talking about the hearing tomorrow. Probably won't be too much though, just because it's supposed to be a short hearing, but maybe we'll know if he's on his way to Idaho already. And hopefully we'll get into these vegan serial killers tomorrow night. Sorry we couldn't get into it even tonight. There's just so much stuff coming out. But we'll probably have some time to get into it tomorrow night. I'm pretty sure. Especially if that hearing's just going to be a really quick one. Probably won't be too much. Same old shit, probably. But we'll see. We'll have it all at the beginning of the show tomorrow, and we'll have another one. Hopefully everybody's safe. Please be safe. Please be aware weather-wise. And I hope you get some peaceful sleep this evening. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out this whole Christmas break. Happy New Year again.